to order then, or Mr. Gray, are we live on Facebook?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the August 27th meeting. Is there anyone on the commission that has any additions, corrections, or modifications to the minutes?
Everything looks okay to me.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve minutes.
Mr. Beaver has made a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
This is Tiambe. I'll second.
Ms. Page seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
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 Minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is item A, the 2019 Carroll County Planning Annual Report. Mr. Gray and Mr. Spade.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to brief the commission real quick, and then Cody, Mr. Spade, I will turn it over to you. In the beginning of the year, I believe it was March, the Planning and Zoning Commission was provided information that city planning staff collected that would be sent to the county planning staff as part of the 2019 Planning Annual Report. County planning staff has compiled all the information together, and it is included in the staff report, or after the staff report. At this time, county and city planning staff ask the commission to review this information and to provide any feedback that you all may have to me by September 24th, 2020, so we can get all the comments together, and if any corrections, we can get that back to county planning staff so they have ample time to edit anything that needs to be edited, and we can get that back to you during your October 8th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So the Planning and Zoning Commission can approve, and the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission can sign the approval letter that will be forwarded to the county planning staff, compiled into the back of the 2019 Carroll County Planning Annual Report, and then subsequently sent to the Maryland Department of Planning for recordation. And Mr. Spade, if you have anything to add, or if anything I said is amiss, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. First of all, I appreciate putting this on the agenda for tonight. Andrew did a pretty good job summing up the entire thing right there. But for those who aren't aware, the annual report obviously is submitted to the state every year. And the county does that on behalf of all the municipalities. So the city of Westminster has provided us with information such as the residential, commercial, and industrial site plans that received final approval, as well as any residential preliminary plans, zoning map, and text amendments, as well as new roads, new parks, and any changes to the comprehensive plan and the plan elements. So we're just asking for your certification on behalf of the city of Westminster to go ahead and forward that to the state. That's basically it. So thanks again for getting it on the agenda for tonight.
Thank you. And Mr. Gray, maybe a couple days before the September 24th deadline, perhaps you could just shoot an email to everyone on the commission and just ask them if they have any questions, comments, or concerns, and then people can reply back with any feedback to you, and then I guess we can bring that up at the next meeting as well. So that way people are sort of reminded to maybe take a quick peek at it.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, a couple days before is fine. Let's move on to item B, the site development plan for Royal Farms. Ms. Gerhardt.
Andrea, Ms. Gerhardt, you are muted.
Figure, sorry. Okay. I will start that again. We're here tonight to talk about Royal Farm Store 323. It is site plan S180012, And the applicant is requesting site development plan approval to develop a convenience store with gasoline pumps pursuant to the City of Westminster zoning ordinance, section 164-75D, section 5, letter A. The property is located at 7 Corporate Center Court. Last month, we reviewed the amended development plan for Carroll County Commerce Center, and this is located within the Commerce Center. So just to reiterate, last month we came before you with the amended site development plan, and we talked about the ultimate right-of-way of 97. So staff is still requesting that this ultimate right-of-way be put on the plan, and that would ultimately reflect on the plan that you're seeing today. This ultimate right-of-way, which is set forth in the comprehensive plan, in the zoning ordinance, and 2011 SHA comp plan. The amended development plan is still set to go before the mayor and common council for their review. But we just wanted to reiterate that we still believe that this is an important part to the future for 97, as well as for widening and for traffic impact. For landscape review, at the January 7th BZA meeting, the applicant was granted 3 variances. The first variance is for the required 30-foot minimum landscape edge along the external right-of-way. And in exchange, the applicant is to be providing alternate landscaping along Littlestown Pike, all while meeting the required landscaping units. At this meeting, staff did voice that we did have concerns regarding the required trees along Littlestown Pike that would help screen the adjacent uses that are right across from 97. There was also another variance from the required landscaped earth mound, at least 3 feet high between the parking area and any adjacent residential districts or public right-of-way. And the applicant is to provide 0-foot earth mound along Littlestown Pike, and will also provide, once again, alternate landscaping to meet the required landscaping units. There was also a variance to off-street parking, and this was a variance from the required section of the lot, which would have, for the parking spaces, are located, I apologize, are located either it abuts or in the side, abuts the rear or side lot line across the street from any land that's zoned residential. And so once again, we voiced our concerns about this, about just any impact that it might have on the residential community across the street. So with this, we also looked at the landscape manual, and we reviewed this for compliance, as well as the above referenced variances. And we saw that according to zoning ordinance section 16557, it says a 30-foot wide minimum landscaped edge shall be required along any residential district or external right-of-way. And so any approval by the commission must be subject to this. And we are not aware of any landscape buffer being provided in lieu of a meeting for zoning ordinance requirements, as stated by the applicant and outlined above, while meeting the required landscape units. We did look at the development design preference manual as well. There is a lot of discussion in there about functional lighting without placing any burden on any neighborhood properties. This was once again something that staff was concerned about because of the lack of trees and planting along Littlestown Pike, and how any type of light pollution could go from this property to that property. For signs, they're proposing a total of 512 square feet of signage, with 190 square feet being attributed to the freestanding monument sign, with the brick base consistent with the architecture proposed for Royal Farm building. And so once again, as I know I sound like a broken record, and I'm sorry, but it's one of the things that staff does remain concerned that with that lack of planting along 97, that the lighting from all these signs will also have an impact on them as well. The proposed Royal Farms, as far as parking, the convenience store is 5,154 square feet and requires 21 parking spaces. This plan is having 58 parking spaces, which is an increase of 37 parking spaces from what is actually required. For water, they were granted a tentative water and sewer allocation in the amount of 1,460 gallons. That was with application WSA 1804. It's with this that the staff is recommending that the commission approve the proposed site development plan with the following condition. Number one, amended development plan for Carroll County Commerce Center obtain approval by mayor and common council. This may also include the need to depict the required right-of-way to accomplish the 110 feet ultimate right-of-way from Maryland 97, consistent with the City of Westminster's comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, State Highway Administration's June 2011 concept design and report. Number two, the site plan shall be consistent with the amended development plan for Carroll County Commerce Center. And three, that they address any outstanding comment. And if there are any questions that we have, I know that there are the representation from the applicant is also on tonight and can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Who's, Ms. Miller, are you present for the applicant?
Yes, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Kelly Schaefer Miller here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Royal Farms. We have a few members of our team here with us to be able to answer any questions. I just want to briefly introduce them. We have Mr. Jeff Bainbridge, who's a representative of Royal Farms, on the line with us. Jennifer Leonard and John Neff, who are with Kimley Horn, who have been the ones who prepared the site plan. And then Nick Dribbin, who is with Linhart Traffic Consulting Group. Can you all hear us okay?
I can, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Let me ask a question. We are here this evening asking you to approve the plan as presented. If you will recall, on January 9th of this year, we appeared before you for an informal presentation to the Planning Commission. Since that time, there has been no substantive change to the plan that you saw that evening. I believe there was one question about traffic circulation that evening, and so that was answered. We are prepared to address staff comments related to the several things that Ms. Gerhart noted: the 30-foot wide landscaping buffer, the lack of plantings, lighting, signage, parking, and then also the Route 97 widening concept. I know that you heard quite a substantive presentation on the 97 widening request at last month's meeting. We are prepared again to present similar and perhaps additional information on that, but I also want to leave that to your discretion as to whether you think it's necessary for you to hear any of those comments again. You have obviously already looked at that in relation to the amended development plan, so I do not want to belabor the point if it's not necessary.
sure. I'm of the opinion that we don't need to litigate that issue. I think we talked about it last time. I think the commission voted, and as far as I'm concerned, the council and mayor, I guess that it's going from us to them with a favorable approval, and having decided that we don't believe that's necessary. So, I don't think we need to waste any more time on that issue at this point. I do think the landscaping needs to be addressed. Tell us why we don't need this 30-foot minimum landscape edge down the road, I suppose. Why don't we need that?
Well, I'm not asserting that you don't need it. Ms. Leonard is here and can speak specifically, but there is a 30-foot wide buffer that is being provided. Do you know what page? I'm not sure, Andrea, if you have the do you have the site plan that you can put on the screen?
I'm sorry, Andrew has the control of the computer, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, Andrew. If you have the site plan, I believe Ms. Leonard said page 417.
It is up.
Yes, it
Thank
is
you,
up
Andrew.
at the narrowest point near the stormwater management facility at the intersection of Maryland 97 and Littlestown Pike. You can clearly see that there's a dimension provided that shows that there is the 30-foot. And again, that's at the pinch point. The rest of the frontage there provides in excess of the 30 feet.
Is that satisfactory, Ms. Gerhard?
I'm going to ask Andrew for his assistance, since many of our landscaping reviews he is responsible for, and so I just want to yield to him.
Mr. Gray, are they showing us the 30-foot mound or what have you of landscaping that you all, the staff believes they need?
Andrew, I believe your cursor was just a moment ago hovering over the 30-foot marker there towards the left, closest to the property corner at 97 and Corporate Center Court.
Yeah, I see something that says 30-foot landscape buffer.
They do have a 30-foot landscape buffer. I just want to check with Mr. Depot regarding there are stormwater management facilities in that landscaping buffer and the Verizon easement the Verizon easement in that buffer. And let me go to the landscape plan 1 second to pull that up so we're on the same page. And sorry, it keeps jumping around. The file's so large, and my brain is pointing in one direction and the computer is lagging just a little bit behind. There we go.
And I think what Andrew pointed out is important, that you can't have a landscape buffer if stormwater management is in that area that cannot have landscaping within it. So it defeats the intent and purpose of a landscape buffer when you can't provide landscaping. And we did meet with county stormwater management, and they've stated that this could be moved to another location and still meet the requirements of stormwater management.
Just to clarify, there are plantings being provided within the stormwater area, and additionally to that, I believe that's indicated on page 10 of the plans. And additionally to that, I'm not familiar with the requirement is that you cannot locate stormwater facilities in the landscaping buffer. I think that's actually very often common practice if you look to other sites. And in terms of relocating the stormwater, it's my understanding that Mr. Depot is speaking about relocating the stormwater facilities off-site on a portion of property that Royal Farms does not control and is not subject of their lease. So I would never dispute that you could possibly, design stormwater off-site. That's always a possibility. Obviously, we'd have to go through the entire review process again on that. But that I don't think that that's really an issue that we need to delve into too deeply here tonight, because I do think the 30 feet is being provided, and I think it is being landscaped, and we're also prepared to speak to the plantings to the extent those are a concern. There is a Verizon facility on site. There's an underground regional Verizon facility and existing easement on site, which is actually the reason, one of the primary reasons that we had to request the BZA variance for some of the landscaping spacing requirements, was because of that.
Okay, any comments from the commission regarding the 30-foot landscaping area?
Well, I believe Ms. Schaefer said they were prepared to discuss all those variances. I guess I'd like to hear what they were proposing to do in those three cases. It sounded like they had some revisions or something that they were going to discuss.
Sure.
Absolutely. There was, I believe it was December, there was a BZA case at which there was the subject of two variances. One of the variances was related to the spacing of some of the plantings and a kind of ambiguity, I guess, if you will, in the landscaping section that talks about the certain plantings being on center, spaced out a certain way. Because of the Verizon facility and other challenges of the site, we were not able to meet what was being interpreted as a spacing requirement. So that variance was granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals. And then there is also a berm, a mention of a berm that I believe calls for a 3-foot, although that's off the top of my head, a 3-foot berm. And we spoke to that at the BZA hearing as well. Both of those variances were granted. I believe that those were the two, let me see here. Yes, those were the two variances that were granted. There was also one relating to off-street parking, where we proposed a landscape buffer along Littlestown Pike. I'm trying to refresh my memory because it's been a while, but the part
I
of
guess
this
to interrupt for a second, I guess that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
It seems like at every variance, you proposed landscape buffering along Littlestown Pike, and yet it doesn't appear as if the staff believes that there's adequate landscape buffering and to meet the standards, like you were agreeing to put additional landscape buffering there. And I asked that question, but I also wanted to, when I look at this drawing on page 9 of 17 with the landscaping, there's a piece of property to the right of it that it makes me just ask the question: was this property, reduced in size from what the normal, what the lot size was on this property, a year ago or something like that? Was a piece sectioned off of this thing for another, potential, for another potential buyer or something like that? Like the plat line just seems like there's a tiny little slice of land there, and I was just wondering if this size of this lot has been changed.
Yes, absolutely. Let me answer both questions, Mr. Beaver. The first question related to the plantings, we have provided the buffer, which was our understanding was the requirement, and we've actually provided the required plantings. So if you look to that page of the landscaping page of the plan, you will see that we do have the required plantings. And also, part of our BZA presentation was a visual rendering of the site. And one of the things we asked them to look to was to the reasonableness at which we were providing a buffer. And they felt like it was suitable, and that the plantings, when looked at that way, truly did provide a buffer. We also took an internal look at a comparison to other sites that have developed across the years, some of which developed very recently, and looked at the landscaping on the ground. And I'm prepared to show you visuals, but again, don't want to, I would need to screen share and all of that, and I don't want to put you through that unless it's necessary. But we really do feel like we are providing more landscaping than most other sites for fuel stations. So we are very confident about the level of plantings here. In regards to your question about the property that's proposed, yes, that small portion to the right, which is to the south of our site, this property is within the Carroll County Commerce Center. Those lots are actually condominium units. This is a condominium regime out there, and that portion, the intent for that portion is that will be added on to the adjoining condo unit to the south to create a little bit larger unit that will undergo future development, and hopefully you'll be seeing a site plan for that sometime in the near future, although not anytime super soon.
I have a question to kind of clarify. So one of the staff's, one of their recommendations is that obtain approval from the mayor and common council. Number 2 is that the site development plan shall be consistent with the amended development plan for Carroll County Commerce Center. Is it consistent with the amended development plan for Carroll County Commerce Center, or is it not?
Well, I believe the purpose of that condition, and Mr. Defo can jump in as necessary, is to ensure that if mayor and council make a change to the development plan that you saw last month, that we need to be consistent with that development plan. So if mayor and council were to accept the 97 widening, we would then need to go back and revise this plan to show that widening. So I believe that was the intent of that condition.
Okay.
That's correct. This is not, the development plan has not been before the mayor and common council yet.
Okay, so I mean, ultimately, you could go in front of the mayor and the council, and they could say, you've got to have that 97, right of way essentially. Okay.
Yes.
But the 30-foot barrier buffer, the other planting stuff, the signage, parking, those, I don't see anywhere in sort of the staff's recommendations, other than just sort of outstanding comments. So I suppose, what the staff is recommending is that we approve this, that it be consistent with the amended development plan should the mayor and council decide that that's what they want to do. And then I guess the outstanding issues would be, to me, it sounds like sort of the landscaping and the signage stuff is really coming down to sort of like lighting and keeping that stuff away from the residences there that are across the street, I suppose. I mean, is the applicant or Ms. Miller, is there any issues with the staff's suggestions about, the lighting, and things like that as far as sort of protecting the residential area around this gas station?
Mr. Albers, we have no problem with that. We do believe that that is addressed on the plan. Briefly, again, Ms. Leonard can speak specifically, but if you look to the photometric page of the plan, which shows the lighting, you'll see that by the time any lighting reaches the center line of Route 97, it has reached 0 candle foot. So there will be no light pollution under the current plan. Additionally, Royal Farms utilizes full cutoff LED lights. So by design, they are intended to create no light pollution. So we do believe that that is addressed on the plan. Likewise, the signage, I believe the signage height is indicated on page 16 of the plans. And it's my understanding that we did work with staff in developing a monument style sign similar to that which you see on Route 140 at the Royal Farms as you're headed towards Finksburg. So we did, revise the sign in that way, and the height is shown on there. As for the parking, we can certainly explain to you why we think the parking that we've provided is necessary for the site to accommodate the use.
Sure. Why is that? Why do you need more parking?
I will tell you, and I'll ask Mr. Jeff Bainbridge to jump in if necessary, and also Mr. Driven from Lenhart Traffic. The amount of parking that is provided for the site is an economic calculation for Royal Farms. Their pro forma store provides for 75 spaces, so this is actually much less than usual. They in their studies of their stores, one missed customer will not return. So it's incredibly crucial to them that they have adequate parking. I'll also just quickly delve into the development side of things, and I think this commission is very well aware that developers are not often willingly adding impervious surface, which we all know creates more stormwater issues and expense to the developer just out of a desire. That's done as part of an economic analysis. I also asked Mr. Driven to take a look at there are parking studies that are part of the traffic, the ITE manual. And recently there's been a recognition that there's kind of an updated category of convenience stores that go above and beyond your normal gas station. And what we're talking about here is the Royal Farms, your Sheetz, your Wawa, those sorts of uses that also have that component, a little bit heavier component of the food sales. So I think this might be an example of where the code just hasn't quite caught up with the times, and perhaps in the future we'll actually see an increased parking requirement for these types of uses. So anybody can jump in with more details to the extent you have questions. but that's the gist of why we think that this parking is needed to accommodate this use, and was not a lightly made decision.
Anyone from the commission have any questions or comments? What we've sort of heard thus far?
I take it there's one sign along Littlestown Pike, kind of in the middle of the property. Is that what I'm?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I see is when they're, I have no way of knowing for sure on the landscaping, but when you just look at the landscaping plan, you see all the circles, which I assume are the larger plantings on every line of the property except the one on Littlestown Park, which is the property line that's across from the single family homes. And it just seems a little it really does seem misplaced in a way to have done it that way. That's all.
That was the subject of the BZA hearing and why we had to appear before BZA, Mr. Beaver. And that was not the first choice of Royal Farms. I'll tell you that that Verizon easement impacts that area of the site and the stormwater as well. But like I said, BZA really took a look at the visual rendering of the site with the landscaping, and there is like a grading difference between the parking area and Maryland Route 97. So I believe it's a 3-foot difference. So they really felt that in looking at the visual rendering between the grading difference and the plantings that were provided there was an adequate buffer, which is why they granted it.
Okay.
Anyone else?
It just sounded to me like when they were talking about the variance that you were putting additional, you were agreeing to put additional landscape buffering there, and I can't tell whether you really put additional or not. You know what I mean?
I believe, Mr. Beaver, that we did plant additional shrubbery. I think Ms. Leonard, I believe it was somewhere in the 53 extra shrubs. So there were additional plantings that were placed.
Okay, maybe staff can, confirm that to me.
So that, on that side of the road, you're saying that the light is still not going to go into the development? You're talking about the lighting not going that far?
Yes, that is correct. There will be no light pollution onto the adjoining, or not adjoining, but across Route 97 residential. And I believe the landscaping plan is page 9. If you wanted to, if Andrew, if you were able to scroll and take a look at the specifics of the plantings provided.
And if I could respond.
There we go.
To Commissioner McNulty's question. Kelly's correct. Direct light is not pouring onto the adjacent property, but as you're aware, they glow. The amount of lighting at these centers or these stations, it's the reflection off the ground and that glowing factor, and any of the signage on the canopies that are close to the residential that are lit. That's what that buffer is intended to stop as well, is that overall impact of lighting. It may not be direct glare flowing off or leaving the site, but as we've all driven by these service stations, they light up significantly. And if you can imagine nighttime, that this 97 lit up as it is with bushes acting as a buffer, that's a concern staff has.
With all due respect to Mr. Depo, Ms. McNulty, I just want to point out that page 12 of the plan shows the photometric plan, and all of those concerns are taken into consideration in developing and submitting the photometric plan. So, all of that glow and the canopy lighting and all of that is part of the photometric plan. So that's what I'm referring to when I say that there will not be light pollution. I also will point out that as part of the BZA proceeding, we did have one property owner from across Route 97 appear. Miss Lisa Eckert appeared to just ask some questions about the landscaping variance and part of the BZA proceeding. She did not object to the use. She was there to ensure that she understood the plans. So just for what it's worth, I do want to point that out as well.
So in order for this to move forward, do you have to wait for the mayor and common council to act on the commerce development plan, or no?
Yes, we will have, we have effectively, we received final stormwater approval this week. So we have approvals from every single agency, and if you will approve this plan as presented to you tonight, then that approval will be conditioned upon mayor and council voting formally on the amended development plan, and this site plan will have to stay consistent with that plan in order to be approved. So like you said, Mr. Albers, if mayor and council is inclined to reserve a portion for the 97 right of way, then you will see us back here again, because Royal Farms would need to redesign the site and resubmit.
Is that the same for the landscaping as well?
No, the amended development plan references all the individual site plans for any unit that's developed on the Commerce Center. So this commission is charged with the site plan review and approval, and the site plan discussion will end at Planning Commission. Although I will say, I'm sure there will likely be questions about the use at mayor and council. The site plan does not need to be approved by mayor and council. Just the amended development plan will go to mayor and council for formal approval on Monday evening. Will be that public hearing.
Okay. Any other questions for anyone on the commission? Okay. Let's see. Here with the staff.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
would you like me to put the staff report up for you?
I'm looking at it right now. Good.
Ms. Leonard just pointed out one additional thing to me that I feel is worthy of noting, since several of you asked about it, which is also that photometric plans do not take into account any additional screening like landscaping or any structures. So the photometric plan is in contemplation of without any additional screening. So even showing that 0 candlefoot by the center line of Route 97 does not take into consideration any buffer of the planting. I just wanted to point that out as well.
On this landscaping, I know this is the way you want it, but you're saying you can't add trees, you can't do any more to try to accommodate what we're discussing here? It's impossible?
We cannot. We have added what we can add, which is the 53. We just verified it was 53 extra shrubs, double line of shrubs in that area, and that is one of the primary reasons that we went to BZA asking for relief from that section of the code, and thankfully that was granted by BZA. And part of the reason of granting was because we practically could not provide those trees in other areas. But we do that feeling like we have truly provided a good buffer. And again, perhaps, the virtual rendering would be beneficial. Andrew, I don't know if you have access to that from the BZA or not, but there really is a good greenery buffer here that you do not see. And I'm going to submit to you any other gas station in the city.
Okay, any other comments, questions from anyone else on the commission?
I think it seems to me they provided what would be reasonably required for a buffer.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the site development plan, subject to the following conditions: that the site development plan shall be consistent with the amended development plan for Carroll County Commerce Center. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
McNulty, I have made the motion, Ms. McNulty has seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
On to the next items. Mr. Spade, Carroll County Liaison Report.
Yeah, not too much to report. Although we are undergoing the process for the fall amendment for our water and sewer master plan, as well as the by request rezoning continues with planning commission meetings on September 15th, September 30th, and October 7th, with discussion and recommendations for the by request properties before it moves on to the Board of County Commissioners. But other than that, nothing else. So, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Spade. Seeing no other items under anything else on the agenda, I'll ask the staff, is there anything else that we need to address this evening before I adjourn the meeting?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing quickly.
Sure.
We recently got word that the Westminster chapters of the spring 2020 amendment to the water and sewer master plan were just adopted. So the staff's going to be working on different things, some of which will possibly be coming before you in the future. But just wanted to let you know that we've been working through that in our office, and we got word that everything has been approved.
Great. Thank you. Any other informational items that need to be brought up?
Mr. Chair, just, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if anybody out there hasn't completed their 2020 United States Census, strongly encourage them to do so. So City of Westminster, Carroll County, and the state of Maryland can receive our fair share of federal funding. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I think that's it. I will move to adjourn the meeting, and the meeting is